amDirt Chats, a series where we chat with others covering topics and experiences with different games in the hobby. We use this as an opportunity to get to know members of the community and hear about their world. We've recorded quite a few in the past, which you can find in our back catalogue on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We love producing these sessions and we hope you enjoy it as well. Welcome to another bonus episode of amDirt Chats, where we talk to someone in the community and discuss various topics surrounding the game we all love, Frosthaven. I'm your host, Detty. Joining me today, the noisy, adorable, ever sarcastic, my forever side chick, Gaz. Say hi, Gaz.
Hi, Gaz.
And our main guest for today, he's all the way from Cleveland, Ohio. His favorite character is the Banisphere. Although this was a while back, so it's probably something way more fun now. He's our resident forest imp who has saved us from some incredibly messy situations. He's the man with a plan, the Emirates of Hakan specialist, the Stu times 2, Stu Stu. Say hi, Stu Stu. Hi, welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. It was good to get some more people who wanted to come on, and you were very, very enthusiastic, and here we are. Getting ready to break down another chart.
Yeah, your guys' podcast has been great. When Frosthaven first came out, one of the things I went looking for was podcast, because I listened to a Gloomhaven podcast many, many years ago, and it was awesome.
Was that the other? I can't remember the name of that one.
The Shelf?
No.
The Shelf one?
No, because I only have 2.
Oh.
There was another main one.
There was a Gloomhaven podcast. I could probably dig up who it was by. I had to do an 18-hour drive one day, and I was like halfway through falling asleep, and I was like, you know what I could do is load up Gloomhaven. If anyone's talking about scenarios from Gloomhaven, I'll remember them all because I've played it so many times. And I found this podcast, and what I do remember is that in the middle, they had a part where they would talk about what they made for dinner.
All right.
And yeah, and they played first printing and like before anybody had any strategic anything. So they're just,
Just a bunch of guys having a good time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doing whatever random stuff they want.
That's right. Well, that would have been fun, guys. I mean, we have to put so much energy and effort into it. I have to actually think.
So you mean we need to start talking about what we had for dinner?
Yeah.
All right.
Why not?
We'll add that as a segment. Yeah. I'm impressed that when you were falling asleep driving, you went to a Gloomhaven podcast as your thing to wake you up. Like, that's more impressive. That's definitely I guess a +1 for the podcast. They managed to keep you awake and keep you alive.
Yeah, but what was making you fall asleep?
I mean,
we didn't exist back then.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I know you don't know that much about the US, but when you're driving through like northern Georgia, Tennessee, there's just like not really anything except some hills, and occasionally there's like a huge city.
Yeah, we have the same. If you go in any direction past a city for more than an hour, I'm not sure how much you know about Australia, but 98% of it is just nothing. And we call that MOMOFO, which stands for miles and miles of fuck all.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that part. I actually did a little bit of Australia research before I got on, because I was like, they can't be as big as the US. Turns out if you want to try to drive across Australia, it'll take like about the same amount of time as if you want to drive across the US.
Yeah.
So
that's it. But instead of like things and people and landmarks and stuff, we just have desert.
Oh, you'll pass Iron and Wine on the way, but
that's true.
Once you get to the western half of the US, it's the same thing.
Okay. Interesting.
So talk to me a little bit about Cleveland, right? What are we known for? What are we known for in Cleveland?
Cleveland, it is known for probably two things. and one of them is pretty hilarious. So we have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here. Just like if you ever come here as a tourist, that's the first thing anybody will tell you is like you can go see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The other thing Cleveland's known for is back in like the 1950s or 60s maybe, we have a river that got so like dirty, full of crap, garbage, whatever was being dumped into it, that it got caught. The river caught on fire.
Is that
And so,
okay?
yeah, right. Which like obviously should not be possible because fire's mortal enemy is water. But
Not a common occurrence.
Oh no,
Right.
our river burnt down.
So those are things it's known for. But having been born here and lived here most of my life, I live in the suburbs, but you know, Cleveland is actually a reasonably big city.
Yeah, I did
It
some
is-
research. I did some research on it. I got a couple of
Ooh.
little things that says Cleveland was the first city to be lit electrically in 1879. Which,
Wow.
yeah, I just
Be
figured
the first place to have electricity.
to be lit electrically. I'm not too sure if they're the same thing. We might have to
Electric
check
lights?
with Dwarf.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's check
like-
thank you.
power grid
Yeah.
that was, you know, reasonable for lights at least.
Yeah.
It is a nice place to be. There's all kinds of different people. You know, it's not diverse. My wife grew up on the West Coast, and she grew up in a much more like ethnically, racially diverse area. So it's not quite like that. But I think if you want to try to do something, somewhere in the Cleveland area, you can find it. Like
Yeah, okay.
we have cool board game shops. We have all the sports, all the major sports in the U.S. at least. There are parks and like natural areas you can go to. I think it's a really nice place.
If you had to describe on the map of the US, which I don't know, and my geography is terrible, imagine I don't know any of the other places on the map either. So use bad directions to point where it is.
So there, if you look in like the northeast region of the U.S., there are a
Right,
bunch
yeah.
of
That's
yeah,
like the top right, yeah.
Yeah.
there's a bunch of it kind of cuts down, and there's a bunch of like lakes that
Oh,
sit
you're
there.
south of Lake Erie or
Cleveland
something,
kind of
right?
lives. Yes, Cleveland kind of lives under the bottom of the bottommost lake
Okay.
on the right side.
So you're in the top right hand corner under that.
Yes.
Under a
But
giant
down
lake.
Top right hand corner is like Maine and Vermont and New Hampshire and stuff. But if you come way down around, you
Okay.
end up in Ohio and Cleveland.
So is that's East Coast?
Not really, because
You're
we're
more-
so like it would
you're
take me
more
like 12
inwards.
a 12-hour drive to get the East Coast.
Okay, so you're more inland. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's Ohio is the easternmost state that is considered Midwest.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
cool. Well, I'm
So-
glad. Welcome everyone who's tuned into our US geography podcast, where we'll, me and Detty learn about US geography.
100%. And when I hear about new places, I mean, Seattle was obviously on our list of places to go to. I mean, Cleveland sounds good. Sounds fun.
Sounds good as well. Yeah, yeah. I want to see this. Is the river still on fire?
Not that I know of. I've been on the river since then.
Is it like a
and
once a year occurrence? Can we catch it at some stage? Or
Once a year, they light it on fire in memory.
I shouldn't have even said this. Cleveland's been trying to get away from this "Our Rivers on Fire" theme for like 60 years, and now I just brought it back for
Forever.
the hundreds of thousands of listeners that you guys have picked up.
No, that's the hundreds of listeners. No, but that's the thing. You've got to have one really cool thing about your city, and then one thing that's really dumb, right? That's the perfect combination. It means you don't take yourself so seriously. So
It's dumb, man. Really.
one
So-
more. One
Yeah,
more
yeah, go
question,
Gaz.
just before we get into stuff. Did you start listening to the podcast before you started playing Frosthaven, or had you already started playing by the time you jumped on?
I am pretty sure I'd already started. The start of my playing of Frosthaven was kind of interesting because I play 3-player primarily. Most of my Haven experience has been played 3-player. I have 2 buddies from high school that I play with weekly again now. And unfortunately, one of them lives about 2 hours south of us in the Columbus area, which Ohio has 3 big cities, and Columbus is one of the other ones. And so we don't get to play in person very much, except when either he drives up or the 2 of us drive down. And so we, when Frosthaven first came out, I was super excited, and I was like, you got to come up for a weekend and we'll play. So we came up for a weekend. We played like a dozen scenarios over the course of like 3 days. And we got to do that one more time so this would have been January of 23 and May of 23. And then I moved way up into the northeast corner of the US into Maine because my wife had a work opportunity, and we didn't get to play in person again. Because there wasn't anything anywhere else for us to play. We just had like a 8-month hiatus probably, and then finally the TTS version got sorted out at least enough that we could play it, and we started playing again on TTS, which is actually the primary mode of play that I've had for Haven games.
Got you.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Are you back playing in person now because you're back in Cleveland?
So I don't play with them in person because, again, he lives 2 hours away, and that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
I do play in person. I have a second campaign that I play in person with my wife.
That's good that you play in person with.
Correct.
Sorry. Just jump on TTS. There's this mod that's really good. We just have to go in different rooms, or otherwise it's awkward, right?
We actually do that with some other games if we're playing with someone else who's I know I only live 20 minutes away, but I don't leave my house. We're gonna play Spirit Island on TTS or whatever it is. Yeah, and then I actually have a third running campaign, but I haven't played it in a little while. That I just play solo because at a certain point I was like, I want to play this more and faster, and I can't because I'm waiting on people.
Do you play that one in person?
I play that on TTS because otherwise I'd have to fix the box. My Frosthaven's over here. Otherwise I'd have to fix the box every time, which is a huge pain.
Is that what I was looking at that actually behind you, and I was trying to suss out whether or not that was Frosthaven or if it was something else.
That's my Prism character sheet and cards because I am about to start playing that in the campaign with my wife. And because of how her work schedule has been the last few months, we actually haven't been able to play since I retired drill. So I'm patiently waiting to play Prism because I don't want to try to play it 2-player solo because that sounds mentally destructive.
Yeah. So do all of your friends and your wife listen to the pod as well? Or is it just you? Have you got them onto it?
Nope.
So you can say whatever you want and they'll never find out.
I can say whatever I want and they'll never find out, except my wife might be listening in the next room. I'm not totally sure. Yeah, the two guys would not, one for sure would not want to get spoiled on stuff. Not even risk the chance. And my wife would probably turn it on her drives, but then zone out or something. Because even when I talk about Frosthaven, she just zones out after a while.
That is very, very fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that if she's driving 18 hours and falls asleep, we aren't the solution. Put her onto the Gloomhaven one.
I think that would go worse, but I don't want to knock their podcast because they were doing it when there wasn't anything. But I prefer the podcastiness of this one.
Well, someone's going to make a podcast for Next Haven, and it might not be us, and they'll be talking to one of their guests about how that guest listened to our podcast to get over some other life event, right? So it's just this chain event, as it goes along. Anyway, I think I've rattled off Detty's path of like what he wanted to cover enough. I'll let him get
just
back
seeing
on
what I
track.
have to cut now. No, just quickly. So we've in our Discord obviously have a bunch of channels for different games and all that. And one of those is for my real life group when we get together and play Twilight Imperium. And you're one of the few people who have jumped in there and actually made comments on, when who was playing, what factions were playing, etc., which leads me to believe that you have a bit of a Twilight Imperium background, which is very exciting. Do tell, how many games of Twilight Imperium? Let's just say, have you played 3rd edition?
I have not played 3rd edition.
Okay, you're the same as us. We haven't either. So you've played only 4th edition. And yes, listeners, we're just going to enjoy a little bit of TI talk because we don't ever really get to talk to anyone about it. So yeah, how much TI have you played?
I've played like a dozen games. I would like to play more, but it is challenging to get 6
You can't
people
really-
together for
can't really
like
solo
10
it, can you?
hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
you played online?
I have played a little bit on like TTS, or now it's mostly on TTPG, Hibbletop Playground. Just like a whole other thing about how that whole community like moved over to a different platform, but
Really?
about half the community. Yeah, I don't want to get into like dumb politics stuff, but yeah, I've played. There's a big podcast for Twilight Imperium, and they run a tournament every year. And finally, this last year, because I like was missing a lot of my regular social contact because we had moved to a different state about 12 hours away, I was like, I want to play in this tournament. My wife was like, okay, I will make sure that I find the day that I can be off and watch our son so that you can play TI online with strangers. And I was like, thank you.
Nice.
So I've mostly played with friends that I've taught, but I have played a little bit online with random people, and actually played one. There's a Discord channel for asynchronous TI, and I have played a good portion of one game on there with a bunch of the other Gloomhaven content people in one of the other Gloomhaven channels, which was also interesting because you get people of like different play skills and styles. Playing in the tournament was like everyone knew how to play the game, knew what factions did, knew what they were doing. And this was like some people did and some people didn't, and there were various levels, and like so that was also interesting.
Yeah, I heard about the async. I haven't looked into it, and I don't know how onto it like our group will be. Pretty much every session we have played has been in person, because we make it an event so that everyone wants to go, and we book it out like 6-8 weeks in advance just to make sure that we can do it, and then it's a full thing. But yeah, I'd be interested in more online like ways to play. But again, it will just come to. I mean, this is a great opportunity because it means we can, if we were to find a stable online way of playing, we could play with more people, but also internationally, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, people try to keep their games like located in the time zones because TI has so much this like, hey, I need to make a trade with you right now, and this other person's like, oh no, I need to make the trade with you. Like, I can't let you do that with them, and then that kind of stuff gets lost a little bit. But it sounds like people who play it and don't get that just kind of let it go.
Do you have a favorite faction?
I'm a bug boy till the end.
Oh.
I know Sardeknor look really boring, but I just, especially this like StarCraft idea of like Zerg infestation sounded so cool. That was the first faction I played and won with.
They do look cool like that, and +1 to all of your rolls is pretty. It's a pretty big special rule. That's
a good number.
Yeah.
I wish they were better, but you take what you can get.
Oh, I heard that Dane's working on I think another codex. I think the 4th one's coming at some stage soon. So you never know. They may get a couple of buffs.
Yeah, they keep saying that, but I'm not even sure Dane's a real person anymore.
No, it's like Ice Frog and everyone else.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Have you played 8 AP player?
No, I've only played I've played 4, 5, and 6.
What was
Mostly
like a
6,
4?
but 4, our first game ever was 4-player because my like main group of gaming guys is there's 3 others. 2 of them are the ones that I play Frost with, and then I have another buddy who is a lot busier, so we don't always get him. I played one other 4-player game actually. So the first 4-player game I wouldn't super recommend because I was like big map, and you kind of don't interact with people when you're on the full map, but there's only 4 people because there's just so much other space you could expand to and not fight. But since then I've learned there's like another way that you can either build the map with just like 2 hyperlanes, like if you're gonna play 5-player, or you can build like this sort of like longer, thinner map that has a similar amount of space for 4 people as what you would have for 6 people.
Yeah, right.
That one went pretty well, I think.
But that would be a
first
good
one
way to
we-
learn it, like for a first time with 4, at least. If you're not directly impacting each other, just the simple process of understanding the phases and how those strategy tokens, tactical, actions and all that kind of stuff. I think that'd be a great way to learn instead of sitting around with 6 people and, taking 100 hours like
Sure.
we did.
That makes sense. The 4-player game was faster, probably. The weirdest part about it is at 4 players, you're all supposed to take 2 strategy cards, right? And if I was going to play 4-player again, I would probably play some sort of feast or famine variant, is what they call it online, where every round you have like a 50-50 chance of either taking 1 or taking 2 strategy cards, and you don't know until right before strategy phase. And that way, like, you don't always know that this card is going to be in play, because factions like Jolnar or Hakan that are really happy to see the same card in play every time, like, get a little bit of a boost in 4-player when, they can just expect everyone's going to take this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with 6 players there and the 2 being left on the table. It's like when you're playing and you get around to having, going into the rounds, and you're like, oh, who took construction? And then you're like, no one did. And you're like, crap. Okay. Like that's, okay, now I have to readjust what I'm going to do because I just assumed someone would. I think that element of them 2 not in the game is, I think, a good thing for it. So it's interesting. But I've never played it 4, so I'd be keen to give it a shot.
We had one of those happen. Somebody like had just taken Mechatol Rex. They were like really starved on tokens, but they needed to catch up on points, so they took Imperial, and then the whole table wheeled and nobody took leadership. And he was like, "You gotta be kidding me!"
Shit.
Well, it got late in it, and it was like a Nazroka's choice to take it. And he's like, "I already have tokens. I don't need leadership, and I can burn. Like, I have 2 fragments sitting here. I can burn for tokens if I really need to. So, like, well, I'm not going to take it." And then it just didn't get taken.
Love it.
I love that can even happen, and
Yeah.
you can just find little ways to just screw people over. Such a
Yeah.
phenomenal game. What if you were to, I don't know, tell someone out there who has not played this, what would be the best way that you would say, is this a game you'd recommend, and how would you get someone to be like, recommending?
Like,
How would you recommend it to
how do
people?
you convince someone to spend? Hey, you really should spend 10 hours of your life arguing with other people over this space game. Like,
No,
just sell it.
not Gaz's way, not that way. But how would you do it?
That is kind of how I sold it to a lot of my friends. I went to them and I was like, "This game will take us at least 10 hours to play." And they're like, "Whoa." Because, like, I have some pretty, like, serious or interested gamer friends, which is nice. I try to explain TI that, hi, this is my dog. This is Jojo.
Hey, Jojo.
Hey.
I try to explain TI that it is a, like, political space war game. It's sort of like a 4X game, but almost anything goes. You can make deals of any kind that you can, reasonably create with anyone, and then you can decide to break them later because there's very little requiring you to keep up with your deal, accept the goodwill of the table. And yeah, it's a crazy experience. I don't think it's like a perfect game in like mechanic sense, but nothing's really perfect. But I have not played another game that's really like TI.
Yeah, and there will be others that will claim, Eclipse and all of these other style games. I 100% agree with you. They just don't quite scratch that same itch.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I've played in games, like multiple games of TI where I've done really poorly, but I've still had a great time playing the game. I don't think I've ever been in a game of TI and halfway gone like, I'm over this, like I'm just done. Like it's just, even though it takes that long, it's still fun to go through all of the things you can do. I think playing the game is fun, and I think you're 100% right.
Even the one we played at Game Mania most recently, I think we played I think it was 7 or 8, I can't remember.
7.
And I had 1 point, and that was it. And I was all I could think about was I want to go again. Like I had a great time. I want to go again.
That's the thing. Like, there's those games where you pick a faction and you kind of look at your strategy, and then you get through the game. You're like, I can see what I want to do differently. And a lot of those games you want to go again. Like Spirit Island's that kind of game, right? Like you finish and you can almost go, let's set up and go again. And it's probably the length where you can if you've got a good amount of time to play. It's not too heavy. Where TI, you definitely can't, but you still want to, right? Like afterwards, you're like, ooh, let's have a look at the other factions and see how this would have all changed. And you can sit there for 2 hours thinking about the next game that you would have had if you could play another one right now. And I think for a game to go for 6 to 10 hours and still when you finish you go, I want more, right? It's saying something about the quality of the gameplay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's jump into some Frosthaven chat now. We'll bring everyone back. So you have 3 games running at the moment.
Yeah.
The furthest one is year 3, is that right?
No, it's actually my solo.
Is year 3, right?
Year 3.
Yes, I'm sorry, year 3.
Sorry.
I thought you meant the 3 player. No. Yes, it's year 3. I'm right smack in the middle of year 3. I'm about to start winter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's like what, 1 season just behind us, I guess, with ours, because we are, I think, 2 weeks into year 4 at the moment.
Yep.
What are your thoughts around a lot of Frosthaven gets a lot of flack, and even to this day, people who have been getting their new copies and all of that are making comparisons directly to Gloomhaven, which is the obvious kind of thing. I want to say, which do you prefer, and what are your thoughts around those differences? You're obviously playing 3 different variants of it right now, so you obviously like it.
Well, to preface, I have played through a campaign of Gloomhaven 3 times. So I also like Gloomhaven a lot.
Yeah.
However, I think that what Frosthaven added to the game is more fun. You guys have talked about that on the podcast, right? Like, it's not perfect. There are some things that I wish were different that you kind of have to like muddle through because you got to just take the time and do this thing because otherwise the game won't work. But I think that the game is more fun. I think a big part of that is that the class balance play experience feels better. There's a lot less of this like, let's just stun all the enemies and load them up with curses so they can't hurt us, and more like somebody's got to take this hit. Like, we just need to figure out who's going to be, and then hopefully that works out with initiative. I think the thematic elements of town stuff are really cool. I think they sometimes like lie a little flat when you have to like get into the mechanics of doing things, but I've done it so many times now that it's like pretty rapid fire. I'm just like, hey, we need 12 gold. It's going to come from you because you have the most gold. And we're like that kind of party where we're just like, we're going to do whatever's, best for the party.
That's where ours is. It's similar to that. Our outpost phase, which is supposed to be the long drawn out thing that takes forever and it turns everyone off, it's done in 2.5 minutes, not even. It's literally the event or a section event that we have to read through. Other than that, okay, Gaz immediately, as the treasury with the campaign sheet, immediately deducts the money from whoever has the most. He buys everything we need. We go through all the buildings. Does anyone buy? Like, it's done.
Yep.
Right.
Anybody want to enhance? Anybody want to buy items? And there's some silence, and I'm like, sounds like we're good. And we just, roll on.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think reading through a few like Reddit posts and kind of commenting where I can, but I feel like most of the people who are complaining about the outpost phase being too long and arduous either have no one at the table that will do it. So it's just like a task that never gets started, never gets finished, right? Or they just try to max min or like analysis paralysis everything and make a big deal of it. Right? You're right. Like that's what I do. I say, hey, we need 28 gold, and people are like, oh, okay, I've got 20 here. Take this. Or hey, we're 3 wood short. Has anyone got any wood? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, okay, well, we're not building that. That's it. Like,
Yep.
I think that's the thing. And I've seen like conversations where the longer you get in, the more tedious and longer it gets, but I'm like, no, it's so much quicker. Like the last 2 years of our thing have just been like, we've got 4 or 5 buildings to build, so what can we afford? That go. So yeah, it's and I mean you're doing 3 campaigns worth, so you can basically do it in your sleep, right?
Yep. It's also all the groups, even when I play solo, are a little bit like loosey goosey. So occasionally I'll like build a building and then be like, I really should have bought that. I'm just gonna go back and have bought that. Never the like, you just got new items. Like, you can't buy those. The game's intent is that you can't buy those. But, like, the rest of it's like, the game is supposed to be fun. Nobody, because it's all cooperative, nobody else is getting hurt if we, like, fudge the things in a way that's not affecting the game. But, like, if I'd been thinking...
You're a lot closer. He can get to you in his helicopter.
That's true. Maybe. I mean... Cleveland's dense enough that he might not be able to find me, but
I mean, but you mean like if you get into a scenario and someone's like, you're about to start, and you're like, oh, I meant to buy this item. Is that what you're talking about?
I said I was going to buy this shield last time or this sword or whatever. Like, yeah, just go buy it. It's fine.
Yeah, 100%. It doesn't change anything, right? Like, and the idea is that you're allowed to look at the scenario book and all that before you go in. So even knowing that you wanted to have an item because there's a certain monster type isn't even against the rules, right? Yeah, right. 100%.
So if I get crit, right, ×2, I can be like, oh, damn, I forgot to get the ×2 helmet. Can I, put it back on? All right, 100%. Take my crit.
I mean, you have to work out with your group whether or not that's okay. I don't want to get into the middle of that.
That's the real reason you started a solo campaign, wasn't it? So you could just do whatever you wanted. You're like, oh, I'm gonna throw this to the group. Oh, the group agrees with me. This is fine.
I just had I had a period where I had a lot of time and didn't really have any other like games that I wanted to engage with. I was just thinking about Frosthaven, and that was about the same time that the TTS mod got finished. So I was like, well, let me start running through this.
What are your thoughts on the change of direction? The scenarios are getting a lot more bloated, a little bit harder, special rules everywhere, giant pages worth of it, versus more your traditional kill-all scenarios. Are you for the changes? And do you enjoy being surprised by, I guess, how much they can change and alter a scenario? And how's your group also found that?
I struggled with it a bit in the middle of the solo campaign because I was the only one, like I had to remember it every time and how the thing worked. Okay. And I definitely messed that up at least once, but not to like a super detrimental effect. I don't think my group minds it too much. My wife and I have gotten a little bit farther. So for context, I wrote some stuff down here. I'm middle of Summer 2 in my group of 3 campaign, and I'm middle of Winter 2 with my wife. Yeah. So my wife and I have gotten a little bit farther, and we've seen a little bit more of this like gigantic special rule thing. It is hard, but also basically always when I play games with her, I am the one reminding her of like, hey, there's this thing. Hey, there's this thing. Spear Island, like, hey, you got that major. Did you forget a card when you did that? And she's like, oh shit, I forgot. Or like, I remembered, but then I forgot. Or something, whatever. Or
is her name Phil?
No. She's really pretty good about that stuff. it's definitely gotten better, but like it's in a game like Frost or Spear Island or TI, there's a lot to keep track of, and like
Totally.
it is good to have. I think it benefits the game overall to have someone who's like kind of trying to keep an eye on things.
Yeah, I think
And that
with something like that, I think that you're right. It's definitely someone to keep an eye on it, but it is good with more people because you can almost share the burden of like trying to remember stuff. Like that's one of the things I found playing on TTS, doing solo stuff in Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, is if I've stuffed something up, I'm like, I don't really care, and I'm not going to continue because I've stuffed it up. So I just kind of go, like, screw it, I'm done. Whereas if we have stuffed something up in a group, we don't just go, oh well, we'll stuff it, we're not going to bother. It's like, okay, how do we fix this? Okay, that's kind. We're going to share this burden because all of us miss this, right? When it's by yourself, and that's why I don't really like doing the solo stuff, like just by myself. Even when we've done the solo campaign, like scenarios, I prefer to do them like at Detty's place with the board and both of us be there, or I think one of them Phil was there, because it feels like more of a group thing to witness and also kind of keep track of everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the worst that ended up happening was like I got 7 or 8 rounds into a scenario and realized that I had not been doing the challenge rules, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna dump this challenge then. It's just like I just didn't pick one and then go forward.
That's reasonable.
It is harder. I am lucky that in my group of 3 there's another guy who's like pretty up on the rules and how things are supposed to work, and so when I miss stuff he'll remind me, and that happens probably like once a scenario, twice a scenario, where he has to be like, no, doesn't this thing happen because of this? And I'm like, oh yeah, thank you, I would have forgotten about that.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that feeling because as someone who runs our group one, you try to remember 90% of what's happening. And even like occasionally, I'm trying to be on top of everything I can, and then I'll hit something and I'll be like, yep, cool, I do 3 damage. And they're like, well, you do 1. And I'm like, why? And it's like, it's got 2 shields. And I'm like, something as basic as that, after looking at everything else and trying to track a stupid elevator or trying to track, who knows what, you're still going to miss those tiny things. But the more people that are switched on, we pull each other up on these tiny little things. Like, don't forget, it's got retaliate. You're about to take 2 damage, and it's like, oh, thank you, or you're muddled. Like it's the simple thing sometimes, because and in your situation playing solo, when you're playing multi-handed, that's so much more to think about. So but at the same time, you're playing solo, so as far as you know, it's flawless, and you've never made a mistake, and who the hell's gonna know, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's flawless. Whatever, it's fun, and that's fine.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can live with that when it's just me.
Yeah.
Is your favorite class still the Banner Spear? What's going on with the with your class now? Because that was a video message you gave to us back at our 50th episode.
Yeah.
Well, where are we at? What do we like? What do we hate?
I definitely still like Banner Spear. If it's not my favorite, it's my second.
Ooh.
The other one that probably competes for that spot is Drill. Once Drill comes online, once you figure out what is happening and how to like manage the sequence, it's really satisfying. You can pull off some awesome turns, and like I remember doing stuff and my wife looking at me and being like, how did you do all that? And I'd be like, this thing, if I get myself at the right level, I can just sweep all these guys or hit all these things, or and I didn't even play the tanky build. The tanky build also looks like I could just go in and like nothing can hurt me as long as I'm prepped for it. You really do. You got to think quite a bit ahead of like, I can't afford to lose this card because I'm going to need it to get my pressure back later.
Drill is one of the classes even though we've seen, we don't remember much, just because it retired fairly quickly. And it's something that I think one of us will reroll and play again to do a bit more of an exploration with it, because I think there's some untapped fun there that that we'll have to wait and see. What about what was your most disliked character, and why was it Trap?
God, it's close, isn't it? So I like that Trap exists.
Same.
I think that
I need something to make fun of.
I think that playing Trap can feel quite clunky. I've heard you guys and a lot of other people talk about how my buddy just finished playing it. He just got on shackles and got off trap, and he's like, when things worked, man, it felt so good. And then there were a ton of times when things just didn't work, and I was like, I don't feel like I can do anything about this problem that we have.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, that's like how trap has felt. Like you get up against flying enemies, and he even took a bunch of cards that I didn't take when I played trap. I went like hardcore damage heavy. I was playing alongside Snowflake, so I was literally just like, I'm gonna put traps down, and Snowflake's gonna deal with all the movement stuff. But I was playing Fist alongside my buddy's trap. And Fist has like some movement stuff, but not a ton. So I was like, I can trigger things sometimes, but I also like need to be in melee to do my own damage. So, it's gonna be like I can do a little bit of supporting. So as he leveled, he took a lot of cards I didn't take that were like trigger a trap and do this, alongside this thing. And I think that helped with the feelings. Okay, your original question was, what do I not like? You're probably gonna hate this, Gaz. I didn't like shards. It felt very blah.
I can
didn't
see that.
It's interesting you just say that, because I think the only thing, and I like what Gaz is doing with shards, and it's still new and shiny to me, but that whole resonance token thing was very blah when we did the unboxing. We looked at it and was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's the last character. It's pretty late in the game that you get it. Couldn't they have made this just a tiny bit more unique or special? Like, it's unique,
yeah.
but yeah. So I get that.
Yeah, I get what you say. Sorry, yeah, you go into more detail.
The only thing I was going to say is some background on shards is that before the crowdfund, when all this got designed, shards was not going to be a class, and then the crowdfund on, I think it was on BackerKit then, hit like the most money that a board game has ever gotten on a crowdfund or something, and he was like, he put up a stretch goal at the very end, Isaac, and he was like, if we make this goal, we will add another class to the game, and I know that ended up as shards. And so like I don't know, I feel like I could feel it when I was playing it, that like all the others felt like they really had this cohesive thing going on, and even if it didn't work out or play perfectly, like I could see what was happening. And shards just feels like, here's some other mechanics and go.
Yeah. Without diving too far into it, I will kind of put my thoughts together in another video sometime. But it feels there's nothing really interesting that it's doing. It's basically increase resource and then spew it out in some way, shape, or form. I can definitely see how you can do a shit ton of damage with it. Like, I reckon that and I'm kind of see that, but I'm choosing not to because we already have two massive damage dealers. So I'm playing a bit more supporty. But yeah, it's unfortunate because I think it has some cool cards, it has some cool ideas, but there's not enough of them. The rest of it seems really generic. So yeah, no, I 100% feel you. I'm enjoying it at the moment. Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be more fun you playing in 4-player because you have this like whole support suite that's sort of unlocked. Playing as a support in 2-player always feels a little weird because like you're now relying on the other person to do all the damage, and that's just not going to happen. So like you can maybe do a little supporting, but you still need to do damage. And it's not bad at that, but it's also like the way it does it is pretty simple.
Yeah, I think one thing, and I can't go into too much detail because spoilers, and I know a lot of people have unlocked it, but I think the level 5 card that you get, which gives you that persistent ability to like do stuff, which again, I'm being super vague. If they had unleashed the shackles on that a little bit and just made it be way more broken and interesting, I think that would have been the place for it. So you get it, and if it just had more range of ways that you can function around using it, I think that could have been the part that made it unlocked it. Whereas the way it landed on kind of seems very conservative. Like, and then So anyway, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Makes sense, especially like you can even leave it at level 5 because you're at least starting at level 3, if not 4, by the time you unlock that, late in the campaign. So like you're not waiting that long. You get a little bit of time to like figure out what you're doing, and then you're like, oh, here's the thing that turns me on.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into a couple of scenarios. Everyone's got different experiences with different parts that they've taken and all of that. Can you remember maybe some absolute pinnacle favorite scenarios that you have encountered, and also some of the absolute worst? And we won't count 14 unless that's a favorite.
No, it's not a favorite. Yeah. I think my favorite scenario is one you guys haven't done yet. So I want to be a little bit.
Give us a number.
God, that might take me a little bit.
Oh no,
that's right. Share it in the Discord when you find it, because we'll just do it now.
when I'll look through and dig it up. I should have looked this up earlier. This is not in my notes.
Oh no, it's fine. Because we've got a bunch of job postings and all that left before we finish. So
yeah, do you want me to talk about it, or do you want me to just leave it alone in case?
Tell us why you liked it, not the things that happened in it, but like what was it, like kind of, what emotions did it kind of, bring out, that kind of stuff.
So Gloomhaven Frosthaven is typically like when you compare it to D&D, which I don't even think is a good comparison, but when you compare it to D&D, it has like a lot of the good combat aspects. It has basically none of the like role-playing stuff, but you can get into that if you really want to. But another thing that D&D or games like it does well is it has like an exploration component to it. And it's really hard to do that in Frosthaven or Gloomhaven because there isn't a GM who can like hide the exploration behind a screen, right? As soon as it's presented to you as players, you know about it. This scenario was a very interesting and good implementation of exploration in a Gloomhaven or Frosthaven game. And that made it very fun and felt very interesting. I
want to do that one, guys.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, make sure you hit us up with a number. We got nothing else to do.
I will. The theme is that you are spelunking a cave.
Oh yeah, we definitely done that one.
No.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's not a main story one, is it?
No. It's not a main story.
Sweet.
I will figure out what number that is.
And
let you guys know when I do.
Cool.
If you scenario was very cool. It kind of like blew my brain open about, you get these scenarios every once in a while where like something was like, oh, I didn't realize that like this would be possible in this like restricted environment, the way that Frosthaven is built. And it was really cool.
We've been surprised a little bit lately with some of them where, we had Titan and a couple of the it is based on that. I think what's his name? General CGO with the laser one that we had, the Furious Factory. Just little ones, they keep finding, like you say, ways of just taking the components and the rules and then turning it into a thematic masterpiece by it just blows my mind that they can do that. And it's good to know that there's probably more to come that will
Furious
have that effect.
Factory caused both my 3-player group with the guys and my 2-player game with my wife all kinds of problems. We barely scraped by in the 3-player. There were just so many turns where like the lasers mean you can't go here, and it's like, well, I can't go anywhere then or do anything. And at that point we were playing Fist, Trap, Bone Shaper. So like the skeletons are just like running in and dying, right? Like they're and I'm the only, like, Trap is mobile but then can't do anything with the mobility like immediately. So I'm like, well, I'm Fist, so it's my job to like jump in the back line and smash stuff because no one else can do that. So I ended up having to like sacrifice myself on the last cabinet. But Trap set up like a really good sequence in the starting room. And they didn't know it was I knew it was gonna happen because I'd already played it, but I try to be very like
Good on
I
you.
try not to say anything to them.
Yeah.
Mm.
So he had some leftover big traps in the main room from like having to run back and forth and stuff. And then this, that automaton spawns, and he like one-shot it by just pulling it through 3 like
That's so
5
cool.
damage traps each. And but it gave us, that was almost bad. When I played with my wife, she opened the door as Drifter, and the room machines drew self-destruct and just walked into her, and she died. And I was like, well, I can't finish this as Deathwalker by myself. So
Isn't that the
ruined
bit where you
machines.
can just retcon, a little bit?
Just
Oh,
cheat a little.
the laser hit the wall instead.
Mm. Yeah, those scenarios. I think there's two. Oh my god, like type of when you find a really good scenario. There's one when you read the rules and you're like, oh wow, like and there's some of the recent ones we've done with like the reverse stamina ones and things like that. Where from the get go you're like, this is gonna be interesting. And then there's other ones, and I think Furious Factory landed into that because we read the rules. We're like, oh, okay, so these lasers will spin around. And it's not until about half to 3/4 the way through when they start, all the rooms are open, and you see how this laser draws its way all the way, and you go, oh god. And now suddenly you're like, all the lasers are live. Like I thought we were going to be able to leave some of these behind, but like, just can't go anywhere. And then they depending on what they would go off, it just drastically changes your turn. So that's one of the kind of cool, almost like a gotcha, but it's a gotcha with a mechanic you already knew was there. You're like, oh, I probably should have. Yeah, I didn't realize that was going to affect the game this way. And I think they're the really cool kind of moments and experiences that you all have.
yeah, I agree that there are, and I think, because originally this started with like, do you like how many of these there are? I like how many there are because there are also some where it's just like, oh, we just have to kill everything. Cool. Or, oh, we just have to escape, which is like mostly kill everything and then get to the end at the end.
Yeah.
And like the fact that we can mostly just play the game and then occasionally it's like, here, play the game, but there's this weird thing.
Yeah.
Is good. It keeps the game fresh.
That's such a big point. I guess that a lot of people don't necessarily want is they want more of the people like to feel powerful. People like to feel strong. They like it when they unlock something that feels broken, and they enjoy, I guess, steamrolling through scenarios. It's just it just baffles me a little bit that you would want to go through 10 scenarios in a row where that's the case. And when these special rules come out and we understand exactly what the scenario is trying to do, the amount of times, more so on the Astral now than in a lot of the other characters, but I'm literally bringing different cards every single scenario. And I'm sitting there looking at them as I'm planning, okay, hand limit's 11, how many of these cards do I need? It is a really, really rewarding and fun feeling. There are times I'm like, oh God, I don't have the cards for this. Okay, time to build it again. And it's just added so much to how much I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think the card swapping hand management piece of preparing for a scenario feels much better. It feels like only about half of my hand is like core to what I'm trying to do. And then the other half is like, well, I can afford to give this up. Like I'm giving something up that I want, but I'm also getting something that I think I'm going to need in return. And like, I'm just going to be okay with that this time. And also, it's just kind of fun to do something slightly different than what you've been doing for the last 5-10 scenarios.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. And I think about the Gloomhaven playthrough I did online or on digital, and I did that as 2-player, but we both controlled 2 characters. I don't think outside of like, oh, I've got to bring a loot card for this one because it's a loot scenario, right? Got to get treasure chests. Many of the characters I played through, and I would play through roughly half of them, I was changing my cards on even a remote basis. Unless I had played 3 or 4 scenarios, I'm like, this is just not working. Like, it doesn't do anything, so I'm going to pick a different one. Actually, yeah, I haven't thought about that. But, like, I reckon on most of the characters I've played in Frosthaven, I've played around with it based on the scenario, which is the same thing as bring X loot card, but maybe you drop your Pierce card because there's nothing with shields, or you bring your Pierce card. There's a whole bunch of different factors, and yeah, it's a really good point. I hadn't even considered that as something that the game's forced or allowed you to do rather than forced.
Birds being part of it is just better balanced than Gloomhaven 1. And I think Gloomhaven 2 will fix quite a bit of that. But the other thing is like the cards that were good in Gloomhaven were just generically good. So you could bring them and know that they were going to be helpful. Cards in Frosthaven that are good are sometimes really specific. And so it's like, I do want this card if the opportunity arises to use it. But the chances that that happens are so slim. There's a drill card that you guys might remember where you can pop a trap at range and affect an enemy with it. It's actually a really good card to just be able to, like, I don't even need, it's not a push or pull. I don't need force movement to pop this trap. But, like, how many times are you going to have a trap? Unless you're playing alongside Trapper, like, that's pretty unlikely. Or the scenario tells you there's going to be traps. And so sometimes the scenario will, like, you know, we'll load up the first room and I'll be like, there's a shielded enemy right next to this guy who's got, like, a damage trap. Right? There's a shielded enemy next to a damage trap, and the first thing I can do on my first turn is play this card. It goes really fast and just kill it. And, like, so when that happens, I was like, I'm bringing this card because I know the card is really good. It's just only really good in this very specific circumstance. And I think there's a lot of Frosthaven cards that do that. And that means that it's worthwhile to swap your cards. And you don't have to, right? You can just play with the generic cards, but you're going to get a little bit more out of the game if you do that. And I like that that is presented to you and gives you, like, a positive possibility.
It means that people aren't expecting the same things over and over again from you. If they're looking at you like, hey, do that thing you always do. Can you, what do you mean you didn't bring it? Whoa, he just popped that trap and killed that polar bear. What the hell? And then, I mean, you get those moments as well, right? You can keep everyone on their toes. Don't feel like you're locked in.
That happened, you know, the farther I got with Fist, the more Trapper would be like, hey, can you knock this guy into this? And I'd be like, I didn't bring my force movement, or I brought one, but I already lost it because I just couldn't afford to keep it. And should I have played around that more? Maybe. But, like, that was sort of a, like, you feel each other out, and I felt like my Trapper was popping his own trap so often that I didn't really need the force movement. Whereas, like, you could play with a Trapper who's like, I'm literally just going to lay traps down and then let you guys deal with them. And then I probably would have just brought as much force movement as I could with Fist every time.
So would you, like, right now, you've played through all of Gloomhaven 3 times. Would you play it over Frosthaven if given a group that wants to play through one of them, and you don't have to factor in, you know, oh, well, you guys are new, so you need to play Gloomhaven? Could you actually sit through another Gloomhaven campaign now that you've... Yeah, okay.
I intend to play 2nd edition.
Yes.
Which, like, thematically is going to be a lot of the same stuff. Mechanically will be different. I mean, you can see the list of how many changes they made. There's only, like, 5 scenarios maybe that went unchanged. So, like, the majority of the game is going to be at least somewhat different. And I'm going to recall stuff, and some of that might be different. But, like, if I get another consistent group together and they are interested in playing, as long as 2nd edition is out, I will play that before I play Frosthaven. Because I think it's still going to be a better intro experience, just because the, like, starting classes are... There's a lot of simple choices. Whereas, like, if you're new to the game and you want to play Frost, unless you're, like, an experienced gamer and you just want to dive in, I kind of want to give you Drifter, because at least if you play Drifter, you'll just be hitting stuff for 4 or 5 and be like, that's good.
Yeah, I'm helping.
Right.
No, that's awesome. Just quickly, you've unlocked challenge cards. Do you like what they're doing to the game?
Yeah, it's really fun. It's another one of those things that, like, you know, it helps to have a group and have other people reminding you, like, hey, this is the thing that's happening. We just got the one where if you loot, you get cursed. And every time someone would loot, someone else would be like, and you get a curse.
Yeah.
And, like, we set up our shackles to just do that and be like, you don't really make attacks anyway, so we don't care if you get curses. We're just going to stuff all the curses into your deck. And he was like, cool, I need loot anyway. But yeah, I like, there's probably a couple that are, like, a little clunky. But I would say overall, I like them. I like them as a system and what they're doing to the game. And that's why I'm excited about that thing I don't want to talk about.
Yeah, okay.
because I feel like that's going to like significantly alter what's happening to the game, but not be clear. And that will be, I love battle goals, right? Like battle goals are really fun because Gaz talks about this. He's like, I'm gonna do this thing for reasons, and everyone's like, or especially me, I'll be like, I'm like the really tactically strategic minded guy in our groups, and I'm like, why would you do that when you could do this? And he's like, nope, I want to be over here, and I'm like, okay, well then you have one of these 6 battle goals because that's why you would do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there was. I think in the last episode when I talked about it, and obviously won't go into detail about the thing, but there was a couple of moments where I couldn't do something, and the people at the table were like, "No, just do it." I was like, "I can't." They're like, no, you just, it's fine. I'm like, "It's not fine." Like,
Right.
like just trust me, I know the reasons why it's not fine, and I can't talk about these. So yeah, that kind of stuff is cool when it's not making it PvP. I think this is the thing that Gloomhaven and Frosthaven do really well with those things, is that they make you play suboptimally, but not against people. So you're not trying to book the scenario because that just ruins everyone's fun. You're trying to kind of juggle plates, right? Like the goal is to keep enough plates off the ground from breaking, and I'm gonna add in all these extra modifiers and more plates to juggle. So as long as if I feel like I can do it, that's fine. I just got to make sure that I keep my shit off the ground as well and don't mess up other people's. So,
right. I just started playing Drifter, and I had Prepper, and I was like,
Nice.
moving around, and then round 3 comes up, and they're like, okay, which things are you gonna hit? And I was like, I'm just gonna heal Shackles, and they're like, could you hit something instead? And I was like, no, I can't.
But you're the
And they're like,
tactical guy. You should know what to do.
Okay. I kind of fudged it by being like, Drifter doesn't have a lot of movement, and I can't like get where I need to be to hit something, so I'm just
That's what
gonna
I
heal
did
someone,
when I had Prepper.
right? But I was also like, I need this. I also, my group doesn't know this because we've been playing with like, we play with like semi-secret battle goals, so we like share the flavor text, but we don't say what our actual thing is. So then we're all kind of like guessing what we're trying to do as a personal quest, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I just got the battle goal one. I just got the battle goal personal quest. So I'm like, I really want to take this 2 check. I know I can do it and still be like somewhat effective. And yeah. And so I was like, sorry guys, you're just gonna have to deal with this.
I'm looking forward to when you do get to that thing we don't want to talk about. We need to revisit this chat, and I want to find out how you and your wife go with it in a 2-player situation, because I think that'll be very entertaining. Do you have any advice for newer groups who are just starting out, as someone who has played so much?
I mean, the best advice if you're playing a game is have fun. If you're not having fun, then you should try to adjust things so that you are, or do something else, honestly. But barring that, the rules that exist do exist for a reason. I think that rules tend to enhance fun in games. It's like kind of the whole point is you've gotten together and decided on this arbitrary structure to agree on, because otherwise you're just playing like kid pretend games, right? Where it's like, I got you with the Gleezorp, and you're like, no, you didn't, and then but also don't be afraid to mess up rules. Like, the first time that we played Gloomhaven is like a whole different saga that I have some notes about, and if we don't get to, that is okay. But like, it took us like 6 hours from opening the box to putting everything away, and I knew we were messing stuff up, but I was like, but I don't know what it is, and we've already spent so long that I don't want to go look it up later, right? Like, I'll try to look it up when I have some time, but I'm not going to stop our game right now and make it run longer. Just play the game with what you know or what you think makes sense, and if you find out that it didn't work out, that's fine. You can. I'm not Isaac, so I'm not going to come to your house with a helicopter, but I think it's okay to like have won a scenario that you should have lost because you messed up a rule. It's fine. Like, just move on and do something else. If you really want to go back and play it again, go back and play it again. That's fine too. But like, don't the game is yours now, regardless of whatever it is that they did in the design phase and the development phase. It's your game now, so play it how you want. Except I have read some things and I'm like, I can't believe you're playing that way. But, you know.
Pretty much. It's basically
Brilliant.
tailored to each individual group. And if you have 4 people who have vastly different ways, maybe you think of a different game, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's not like super tactical or strategic advice, but like that's the game
No,
advice.
I think that's some of the best advice because
100%.
yeah, every group's gonna go through it and they're gonna get confused and all that. Take it easy, have some fun. Things can be looked up later. It's just awkward if you have a podcast and then you're reporting all of this to, your audience.
Yeah, I mean, like
you guys aren't gonna.
Sorry, go.
You guys aren't gonna get any rules wrong for long,
What do you mean?
because someone's gonna come correct you
True.
and
That's
be like,
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you should be doing it like this.
yeah. That's
It's
it.
funny
I mean,
being corrected considering no one can even see us play the game.
it's because I remember after the first few episodes, and we obviously got corrected on a whole bunch of stuff, which is great, and we loved it and we embraced it, right? But people are correcting us purely on what we told them we did, and we still managed to talk enough about what we did, even though we're trying to be real vague and not go into the details of it, to tell them how we're doing it wrong. It's actually quite funny. Like, yeah, I still just remember the tree log saga from the very first scenario in Frosthaven. Like,
We are not alone in that. Other people have definitely made that mistake.
that's
I think
right? Like,
I think the
it's
Snow
common.
Imp one is probably a little bit more
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah, that's it. That's the
That's pretty
embarrassing
funny.
one.
Before
I
I
actually remember.
Oh, yeah, go.
I remember where I was. I remember like when I heard you guys say that, and I finally understood what it was that you were saying, and I was like, "Oh, guys, okay, well, it's fine." Because again, it's just, it's not really gonna affect much because it's just imps. But
Yeah.
like, it was probably
It's-
fun to hit them for like 10 over and over.
It's a good thing because we did it really early and then we got corrected really quickly. So anybody who's new to the podcast will listen and they'll definitely know whether this is their jam or not. They'll be like, these guys are idiots. I don't want to listen to 100 episodes of that. And then they're out. It's like they know within the first 5 episodes whether they should continue or not. Like, imagine getting to episode 40 and finally realizing we're idiots. You'd be like, oh, I've just wasted 40 hours of my life. So at least we got that out early.
Yeah.
If you've got, I'm fascinated. What's with the notes? What have we got notes here? So
What other?
I've got a little fun game that I'll be bringing up to towards the end of this show. But if there's something you wanted to cover or go for it. If I haven't led you in already.
No, yeah, most of this actually we have covered. I have a couple of best moments that I wrote down from like playing through different scenarios.
Give it to us.
One is my wife retired her drifter and started a snowflake.
Just quickly, what did she get from the drifter coming back?
Yeah.
What did she get?
This is really important.
I don't think it was a shovel. I'm almost certain it wasn't a shovel because I've checked in all of my things. Actually, no, that's the only one that drifter's retired, so I would know that. I don't remember what it was. I could go look in the book and maybe take a guess.
No,
but
it's
I don't think it was a shovel.
It's just for science.
It was very memorable, clearly, because here I am able to tell you it was not a shovel. No, so she retired drifter and started snowflake. And we had scenario 113, which is Lush Grotto, which is that scenario with imps, forest imps, chaos demons, polar bears, where you kind of have to like go in a loop and get a bunch of gold treasure tiles.
We haven't done it yet, guys.
Oh, haven't we?
But
Okay.
but it doesn't look that exciting just from this initial page, which is why we've been avoiding
So-
it. No, keep going.
I will say a thing about it that is not a spoiler because you can see it on the front page. It has every herb in it. And the personal quest that she got with Snowflake was collect 5 different herbs. So we went in and she said, I want all these herbs. And I said, okay, I will let you get as much loot as you can. And I will just focus on like dealing with the enemies. And she ended up on her last loot token, collecting her 5th different herb. And so she retired her character in one scenario.
Snowflake retired after one scenario.
Yes.
That is
And
very
I've only
different to
seen,
mine.
I've seen in like Discord and Reddit and stuff, I've seen one other person who's retired a character in one scenario.
Wow.
But that is like anytime I
Wild.
bring up Frosthaven anywhere, she's like, "Did you tell him that I retired in one scenario?" She's like, she's very proud of this.
Yeah.
And so we fudged it a little bit because she's like, "Well, I didn't really get to play this character at all, and I kind of want to." So I was like, "Okay, well, why don't you just start another one, and when you get tired of it, we'll just hot swap you to something else." So she played it for like 8 or 9 scenarios alongside Trap, and then she hot swapped to Blink Blade, and did that. So that was a really cool moment in our
Love
game.
that.
Another really cool feels bad moment was our first Outpost event was, I think it's Summer Outpost event number 4, which is where they are playing the game with the item under the cups. I think you guys have done it, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
It sounds familiar.
And you have to pick whether or not the hidden item is, you have to pick the location that the hidden item is in. Well, she out loud says, you never win these games because it's always like something. And then she's like, I guess we'll pick this one. And then I flipped the card over. And she was so mad. She was like, I don't even want to play this game anymore. I'm just done. Like, I'm not playing. And I was like, Kate, like, you said the thing. We can just,
Yeah.
dox
Yeah.
her. Like, that's okay. It's like, we can just do the thing, because you literally said that your first response was, we're not going to win. Like, you're a cheater.
Yeah.
So we took that.
Nice.
She's still a little bit butthurt about that, I would say. Like, that still comes up, and it, like, I can see her face like contort in anger.
Well,
when that comes up.
because she said that thing and then still chose one and lost, or is she angry at the mechanic of the game?
She's angry that there's a hidden choice. Because again, we played so much Gloomhaven that, like, and that was never a thing. And then the first thing that happened at Frosthaven is there's a hidden choice. That was specific to us. That's not going to happen to most people, because most people aren't going to have that event. But it's 1 in 20, right? Like 5% of people that play the game, that should be their first event.
Yeah. The thing is, though, that even though it might not be most people's first event, like, they're going to get normal events until they get one that they realize that they had to guess something that wasn't an option on there. So everyone's going to have that moment, whether it's through that card or another card, and then you're like, oh, okay. And I feel like it's a knife's edge. I think people either like, oh, wow, that's really cool, or they're like, absolute shit show. You can't do that. Like, I'm gonna go find Isaac.
Yeah. I think there's not a lot of like super divisive stuff in the game, but I do feel like that is one of the things that I've seen other people, talk about, complain about. The rest of that list, those are the 2 best.
How did you screw up? Just if in a nutshell, you have to go through blow by blow. But how did you stuff up Gloomhaven scenario 1? Like, what thing were you doing? Because, like, I've read bits and pieces about like people who got halfway through Frosthaven and realized that you didn't have to play the top and then the bottom or something like that. Like, and they've gone through a lot of the game before they've realized this, and then just been like, oh, that's interesting, I better change that. Or random things like that where they're just doing a core mechanic wrong and haven't thrown in the towel. Like, you see some people that are like, oh, I keep exhausting after 5 turns, and like, you're clearly playing the game incorrectly if that's what you're doing. But these ones are like, oh, the game's real hard. Like, how do you guys do this? And push through. But what was it that you guys did?
To think if there was anything that we any rules that we messed up really badly in that first scenario. And it's hard to track because there was so much other stuff happening. And this was almost 6 years ago now? 6 or 7 years ago, whenever 2018. Late 2018 is September of 2018. I wrote some stuff down about our first play that I still remember. So I told you earlier that my one buddy lives about 2 hours away, and he was the one who actually was going to get me Gloomhaven. He had ordered it from Amazon, and it was taking like months to show up. The first time you mentioned it, I didn't even know what he was talking about. I didn't even look it up. But later on, I ended up looking it up. I was like, oh, this looks really cool. Eventually got excited about it, and I said, hey, I have a local game shop. Do you want me to just run down and see if they have a copy? He's like, sure. So I go over to our local shop, which is actually a really nice place on the west side of Cleveland, called Recess Games. They have like a decent online shop too, and sure enough, they have a copy there. And I was like, hey, I'm just gonna get this copy. You can cancel one from Amazon. He's like, great. I was there with my now wife, but we weren't married yet. And I was like, man, this is so cool. I want to play this tonight. And she's like, why don't we? I was like, well, you know, he lives far away and other stuff. And she's like, oh. I was like, I guess you're right. Like, we don't, you know, we didn't have kids yet. We didn't have any responsibilities really. And so we texted my other buddy who's getting off work late, and we're like, hey, we're gonna drive down to Columbus and we're gonna play this game tonight. And he's like, okay, cool. So we picked him up from his house about 8 p.m., drove 2 hours, got to my other friend's house at 10, and I had not opened the box yet.
Oh,
so
God.
we open the box,
Oh, jeez.
start punching stuff out. I'm trying to read, and I've watched rules videos and like tried to read stuff, but it doesn't make any sense.
No.
And the Frosthaven rulebook is way better laid out too, right? So when you're trying to read the Gloomhaven book, I'm just like, it was talking about this thing in this other page, and I'm flipping back, and I can't find it. And I'm flipping back because I want to keep going, and they're punching stuff out and trying to get things set up. And we also have to pick characters and like figure all that out. And so we didn't get started playing until midnight. And then we played for like 4 hours. My wife was playing Brute, and she got exhausted like late in the second room. And then she was like, I need to go to sleep because I'm supposed to be in a volleyball tournament tomorrow morning, and like I need some sleep. And so she went and like laid on the other side of the room, and we got into the third room. I don't remember when I was playing Spellweaver, and I don't remember when I exhausted, but I also exhausted, and it was just our Mind Thief left. And he was trying to do it, but it was like him against 2 archers that were mostly full. And he's like, and I've got like 2 turns left. He's like, I just don't think I can output the damage that we need. So we lost. We got things opening at 10. At like 4 a.m. we've lost. And now we still have to pack this box up because we have to go back because my wife has a tournament in the morning. So we like pack everything up. I'm letting her sleep as long as I can. And finally at like 5 maybe, I'm like, hey, we have to go. Like, I want to drive home so you can at least sleep a little bit in a bed. And she's like, okay. so that was our first experience. But all of us were like, I want to play this again. Like, desperately. I want to win this game.
That's crazy.
It's not a travel-friendly game.
No, not particularly. Especially, I don't know if you remember Gloomhaven, right? You're used to Frosthaven, which has like these nice organizers and stuff. Gloomhaven was just a freaking box, man. Like it literally, when I opened it, it was just a pile of stuff, and I ended up having to go online and make up my own organizer and do that. And it like after that, it was much better. But that first time,
well, we were spoiled because Detty had it set up on his table and this side bench thing, and it was just that's where it was all the time. It just stayed set up, like much like it is now, but. There was stuff everywhere, and I can't imagine just being like, oh, well, I guess just throw it all in the box, right? We'll deal with it when we finish our 2-hour drive home.
Exactly.
Yeah, hell no.
But it was 5 a.m. and we were like, everyone needs to sleep. Like everyone else needs to go to sleep, and I'm gonna drive home, and then I'll sleep later.
Nah. I love that it's so memorable, such a memorable first time, and I think that it probably helped this whole story arc that you lost. Because if you win, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, but we won. But you lost. You're like walking away that being defeated. We've just spent over 6 hours this monstrosity of a game and got our asses handed to us. Like in the first mission.
Yep, most of which was in the middle of the night. Like you know, I could see with the wrong group that just being like a super souring experience. But for all of us, We were just like, this is awesome, and we need to do more of this.
Yeah.
And
I can see you trying to say that exact story to like someone from work or just someone who doesn't have a clue what Gloomhaven or board games are like this, and just trying to explain to them that whole process of driving there, punching a board game. What do you mean learning it, and then sitting there playing for that long, and then having to set it up again? It just sounds so bizarre. Who would bother, right?
yeah. Or like, why would you do it again after you have this like you spent all this time and then you lost? Like, you really want to do that again? I was like, yeah, I desperately want to do that again.
So, I have a little thing. I'm slowly, every amDirt chats, Gaz, I'm evolving it slightly more and more, okay, to the point where I've actually named it Gaz's Gauntlet. All right? It's going to pit you against our guest, who we have Stu Stu here today. So, I'm working out the best format for a quiz against Gaz that our guest can do. And, well, the rules, simple. I name a subject, all right, which will be Frosthaven related. And then you guys will give me one answer. So starting with Stu Stu, and then Gaz will give me an answer. So it's one answer, and then Gaz gives me one, and then it's back to Stu Stu until one of two things happen. So either both of you exhaust all possible answers, to which no one wins that round and it's a draw, which is very hard to do, or one player takes too long and they forfeit, if that makes sense. If they can't come up with one in a timely manner. There's no set time, but if I think that you're taking too long to come up with an answer, I'm going to press a buzzer, and there's no buzzer. I haven't set one up, but I'll make a buzzing noise. Does that make sense?
Makes about as much sense as one of those mid-complexity level scenarios that you read the purple box and be like, let's just start. I'm sure it'll make sense once we get going.
Yes. If you can't name the answer, you can describe it. Right? Because sometimes it might be an ability, or it might be a battle goal or something like that. You can be like, oh, it's the one that does this, right? So an example subject will be Haven games and or expansions. So we'll start with Stu Stu on the example one, and he can say...
Oh, I see. It's like word tennis. So we keep giving answers to name all of the things. I see. I thought there was one answer, and we're just all having... Okay, I get you. Yeah, okay. This sounds cool. Cool. I think I'm totally going to get my ass kicked because I feel like Stu Stu has like 1,000 hours of Haven. But... yeah,
the general idea of Gaz's Gauntlet is that every guest comes on. You know how there's like shows like The Chase and all that where they have the experts and people just keep coming in to challenge them and they keep getting their asses kicked? This is the opposite. This is come in and beat Gaz. This is just like, what everyone could do. Yeah,
so it's kind of like get a random person who doesn't know anything and bring in experts to make sure that you can they don't know what they're talking about, right? Like just make sure that you can, get it. Yeah, done. I love it. I'm excited to be a part of this.
All right. Well, we will start off with Stu Stu. We're going to start off with classes or playable characters that we're going to use their code names. Nice and easy.
In?
Their classes are playable characters in Frosthaven.
In Frosthaven? Oh, just Frosthaven.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Drifter.
Geminate.
Nice.
Banner Sphere.
Coral.
Deathwalker.
Prism.
Bone Shaper.
Meteor.
Shackles.
Snowflake.
Fist.
Shards.
Drill.
Trap.
Ooh.
Buzz me if you want. There's a starter I'm missing. I can't figure out which one it is.
Done. Wow, Gaz wins a round.
Blinkblade, yeah? We didn't say
Blinkblade, Kelp, and Astral. Oh, that was fun. It was real tense. Okay, because I've got a checklist here that I'm pressing all the buttons as you're answering it, just so I can keep track. All right, so that's round one, nice and easy. Round two, conditions, not including curse and bless. Gaz, we start with you.
Oh, Bane.
Poison.
Wound.
Muddle.
Immobilize.
Brittle.
Ward.
Done.
Regen.
Disarm.
He's
That's it.
ours.
Is
Impair,
that it?
strengthen, invisible.
For sure.
Well done.
One apiece. We're getting harder now. All right. Also,
Excellent.
if you say the answer wrong, then you're immediately out. So some of these could be real fast. All right. So, but I'll maybe give you a little bit more time. We'll see how we go. Monsters with innate shield. Starting with Stu Stu.
Hail automaton.
Skeleton.
Living bones. I'll
demon.
take. Yep. Wind demon.
Flame demon.
Flame demon.
Sun demon.
Sun demon.
The Yetis.
Frozen corpse.
Vermling shaman.
Firmling priest.
Priest. Sorry.
No, they
Oh.
changed it.
Elgox priest.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Savas ice storm.
Nice.
Oh no. Oh, the
Three,
normal. So
Two.
the normal ice wraiths.
Yeah. Well, yep. Ice Wave's fine.
Oh. We're gonna have to put like a Jeopardy or a TikTok sound in the background of this one, right?
I think the silence is more stressful.
Just for the listeners.
Lurker
Three.
claw crushers.
Yes.
Oh,
like
burrow blades, the underground
Yes.
Beyblades.
Well done.
I completely forgot about the entire
Living
lurker.
spirit.
Living Spirit. Good one.
The other lurker.
It's too many lurkers, guys. You're going to have to be more specific.
The soldier lurker.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Nice. There are 5 left.
Oh, jeez. I think I'm out.
Gaz pulls it out. Ooze.
Oh,
Forest-
God.
A forest imp.
Yeah.
Living
No,
Doom.
that's like your thing, Stu Stu.
Yeah, right?
Living Doom.
Forget about it when you have it. I almost said Living Doom, and I didn't think they had them.
Look, if I was involved in this, I also would have been just as messed up.
We've seen
It's easy
three
for
of
me
them,
because
so-
I got the answers. City Guard
Okay.
and Algox Ice Speaker, which I actually had no idea. The axe wielding
Yeah,
ones.
that's right.
Good work, guys. All right. Number 5 or 4 actually. Brewable potions.
Oh,
All right. So just the names, yes, of course, maybe a little bit tricky, but if you can just say the blank one or something like that. But we're only having one type, so no major, minor, etc.
but can we just say what it does if I don't know what it's called?
Sure.
All right. Power potion.
Potion.
What was that? Sorry.
Health potion, healing potion.
Stam potion.
Yep.
Mana potion.
Yep.
The retaliate potion, like the fire
Yeah.
shield or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
The recover items potion.
Mm-hmm.
Renewing potion, maybe is what it's called.
That is, yep.
The bless potion.
Yep.
Strengthen potion, which is maybe called vigor.
Yeah, it was, and that's one of the strengths, and then there's also muscle.
Okay.
The cure potion.
Yeah. Well done.
The poison potion.
Uh-huh.
Poison vial.
Mm-hmm.
The unhealthy mixture.
Mm.
The wound potion.
Mm-hmm.
The deal 3 pure damage to something next to your potion.
Mm-hmm.
The attack potion.
Yep.
Frenzy.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I don't think it's maybe swiftness potion. It does like jump 3 to your movement.
Yep. Swiftness.
Infusion potion, the one that lets you fake having an element.
Ooh,
Nice.
nice.
Oh, you guys are smashing this.
Oh,
Bop, 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 bop. 3, 2, 1. Just do it.
I could think of at least one more.
Mhm.
Yep.
There's hammer potion that does 10 to you.
That's right.
There is the other one as well that there's like the worst unhealthy mixture one, but I couldn't remember what it did or what it was called. I was just going to say the other one.
And it's deadly mixture. But that one is also covered under, that'll be a major minor
unhealthy.
situation, yep.
Yeah.
But there was also Stone Skin, which is the ward.
Or-
Glancing, which is your miss becomes a +0.
I was trying to
love
think of
that
ones
potion.
that I've had.
Yeah.
Yes, I was like, I'm trying to go through all the ones, and I had both of those. Yeah.
Expertise Potion, discard a played card to perform the top
Oh.
and bottom of the other. And finally, Foresight Potion, which is allowing you to look at the top card of the monster deck.
Right.
Oh, okay. So did we get most of those?
Yeah, I'm really very proud. Very proud.
We got probably like 16 out of 20 or something.
Something like that.
Nice work.
Pretty good.
All right, this is going to be fun. This might be over in about 1 second. All right, so the next one is, because you both have played this class, this is the Banner Spear. There's a lot of options here. I want Banner Spear Initiative numbers. Starting with, where are we at to? Stu Stu, I think.
Got first 6.
That's the one I know.
Of course.
62.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, 62 is meat grinder.
I just guessed. I'm just guessing. I put two numbers together. 96.
No. All right, that's done.
15, 21, 20.
Hang on. I want to see how many you got. 15, 21.
Oh, God.
20, yeah.
Yeah. 83,
Mm-hmm.
78,
This guy Banner Spears.
71. What else? trying to think of like the cards. When does that go? Is that like 86 maybe?
No, we have 85 and
Oh,
87.
That's right. Okay. Oh, it's 87. No, that's fine.
Yep. And no one said the 5. They've got a 5.
Oh, yeah, the other shield card at level 5, if you don't take the unbreakable wall, the thing that gives you shield and other people shield.
Mm.
It's always a safe bet that they're going to have an 18, guys.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. There is an 18. Throw a spear.
Is there a 23?
There is not. There's a 22, 24, 25, and 27.
Oh, okay.
Dang.
You literally picked the one
Yeah,
number. It goes
guess
20,
that.
21, 22, 24, 25.
Well, it's fine because I would have said 23.
All right. This one's nice and easy. This is, and I know you know them. You don't have to know the ability. These are the Frosthaven pets, starting with Gaz.
The forest imp?
Oh,
Wait, do you want the ability or the name
no,
of the pet?
just the name of the pet.
Okay, yeah.
Black imp.
These are just
Hound.
catchable monsters.
Wolf.
No imp.
This could be the first draw.
Spitting Drake.
Rending drake.
The ooze.
Can I say the weird ones? I know the two weird ones, even though I probably shouldn't.
I haven't added
no.
those ones, but I know that they are a
Yeah.
thing.
Spoilers. No, don't say them. Don't include them.
Okay, I won't say them. That's fine. Piranha pig.
Can't remember if this has been said, but the black imp? What dog?
It has been said.
I'm out then, right?
Sure.
I was like, I don't know if you could try again. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care.
Well, there's two left. So
what's the other? Oh, the eel.
yep,
Yeah, that's the one I could think of. What's the other one?
there's one more, guys.
Oh, is there one more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one more. I know
Oh, we
there's
haven't
10.
said. Did we say snow imp?
Yeah.
We said all
Frost imp.
3 imps.
Oh, we did the imps. Okay, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay, whoever gets it wins the round. Let's just go with that.
Oh, okay. Spicy. Which one do we take and never use? Interesting. Is it? Give us now. We've obviously named them because they're. Oh, I just got to go through the pets. So the people in Discord.
Oh, that too. I don't know
No.
who everyone is.
No. I'm not going to go through it.
I don't think I know it. I'm not going to think of it right now.
Give me 5 more seconds. The Ruin Machine.
Yeah.
Good call.
Ruined Machine. Well done. Last one. This is it. Battle goals that are worth 2 ticks. If you don't know the name, just tell me what you need to do. We'll start with Gaz.
Slowpoke. What was that one? Stu Stu?
Prepper.
Oh, sorry, I didn't
The one
hear
where
it.
you
Yep.
can't attack.
Yeah. The one that you. Oh god, I don't even think I know anymore. Oh, the burn 2 cards before your first short rest.
Yep.
Are we counting the ones that are 2 checks for 4 characters?
Yes.
Okay, so then don't stand next to any of your allies.
Recluse. Yes.
Oh, there's the don't like finish in the same spot for more than like 3 turns? Or is that not a 2-ticker?
I don't have it on my list, so it must be a
Don't
1
think it's-
ticker.
I don't
No.
think it's a 2 check.
Yeah, okay, it's 1.
Yeah, Stu Stu wins.
What on? How many more?
The
Yeah.
only other one
Oh, that was heaps.
the only other one I can maybe think of is never kill an enemy still in Frosthaven.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Peacemonger. Never kill an enemy. There's Dawdler. Never use the lowest initiative. Kill an enemy before it takes its first turn. Never perform a basic
yeah.
action.
Is there what's the door? There's a door one that's 2, right? Because it's not Bastion.
Yeah, there
Is
is.
it the open and
Kill
kill?
an enemy. Yeah.
Yes, it's kill an enemy and open a door.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, no, very, very good. Gaz, you did not win. Stu Stu wins, which is good. We're gonna keep this streak happening for
Yeah,
see how
cool.
long it lasts.
Close though.
I was impressed
That's
with
really
how much
fun.
I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Is there anything else you want to I don't know, discuss or anything like that?
I mean, I want to say thank you guys for not just starting a podcast that I'm excited to listen to every week, but also like fostering a community on the back of that. The fact that there's like 60 people in your Discord and several of them are like on pretty regularly and talking about stuff. The fact that you've got like Blood on the Clock Tower games going, even if it's not all the time, but like that you guys have that running. There's what you play AFK Journey, or I don't remember what the other game is, but like
Yeah.
you have a bunch of stuff going on that just started because you were like, hey, I want to start a podcast. And I think it's really cool to start communities of people who enjoy doing the same things. And I appreciate that you did that. And that it's good. That matters too. Like it is, I can hear the difference. I remember you talking about the episode where you were like, this is what we sounded like at the beginning. And it is. You're much more relaxed and it sounds like you're having fun now. Which is good.
100%. And on it's interesting you say that because on Reddit, there's a podcasting subreddit with a lot of people who either have ideas or want advice on equipment or software or how to do this. And you got people on there posting nearly on a daily basis who will say, hey, I really have this great idea. I really want to do this. I'm terrified and I don't really know what to do. I need some help getting started. And that literally is exactly what happened with us. We didn't talk about it with any community, but that's what I was thinking internally. And it's one thing to have an idea, it's another thing to actually do it. And you would have heard in that episode when we took that back, it was so hard, especially for me. I know Gaz would have struggled as well. He doesn't show it as much as I did, but I struggled at the very start. And here we are about to record our 75th episode on one game, which I know can be done with games like Twilight Imperium, like you said. And I know there's, I think, some for maybe Root, and there's different communities coming through. But, my advice to anyone out there who wants to do something like this, just do it, because, you just do it and be yourself, because people will either like it or they won't. And you will feel better and build up that confidence. And like you say, sound happier and feel good just for giving it a shot. Now, in saying that, I don't need like 500 Frosthaven podcasts to suddenly launch next week. But hey, it'd be cool. We can just keep bouncing on each other's shows and all of that, right? But that's really cool. It's really nice of you to say that. It actually means a lot.
And I think like after 75 episodes ish, I think we've got enough practice. We're almost ready to start the proper thing, like the real podcast, right? Like about really important stuff.
The one that matters.
The one that matters, yeah. So no, I think the other part, that only thing I'll add to what Detty said is to thank. I think we say it all the time. We thank the community, but like I honestly don't think that we would be having as much fun. And I mean, I would hope that we'd still be doing it if we didn't have a bunch of people that were listening and engaging with us, because we do enjoy it. And the whole point we started it was because we were just sitting there talking for 2 hours about games. And we're like, I feel like we could probably just put this like on the internet and someone might listen to it. But the fact that people do come in and they do listen and they do chat and they're interesting and they have their own stories, I think is what drives us to keep doing it, because there have been ups and downs, and we've kind of gone through like stale moments of the game and stale moments of like what we're talking about. But I think that, bringing the people that are in the community into these things like yourself, and then just through the chats, it just kind of keeps things fresh. And I guess, like most of successful things, they're going to need to be some form of like interaction other than the two of us, right? Like we're probably not going to still be recording after 75 episodes if it's just us two. So, but yeah, so thank you for those words, and for everyone else that's like just jumped in to say, hey, like it does make us want to keep doing it more. So
Definitely. So
that's it.
That is it. We will wrap it up there. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us, Stu Stu. You are quite the character. It's been a lot of fun covering a little bit of TI, which maybe we should do a spin-off podcast and chase after space cats. And of course, Frosthaven. We will have another amDirt chats in the pipe in, I think, the next couple of weeks. I think I've got another person that's jumping on, which is always exciting because, like you said, when we're building up this community, we now get the opportunity to have these conversations to people who are playing the same game and hear those experiences and stories, and it gives us that fulfillment of hearing what other people are doing, because everyone's hearing what we're doing. So yeah, I think I'll close it out there unless there's anything else.
No, all good.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for tuning into another amDirt Chats. We have Stu Stu here. I have been Detty. I've been joined again by Gaz, and of course our forest resident imp, Stu Stu. Take us out, Gaz.
Take us out, Stu Stu.
When it comes to rolling terribly, it's all in the wrist.
There we go.
Everyone's getting so good at that. The
I
only
know.
person that's hot garbage at that is me.